from the overall perspective, apprenticeships make a lot of sense if you're providing the services that are required by a trade.
Yeah.
And so from a financial side of things, I guess just it's important for employers to understand that there are some significant benefits that are out there issued by the federal government as well as the provincial government. And just recently, a couple of years ago, the provincial government increased those benefits. It used to be a $5,000 tax credit that was available, which is a refundable tax credit, and what that means, there's two types of tax credit, refundable and non-refundable for corporations. And a refundable tax credit actually is refunded to you regardless of whether you owe taxes. A non-refundable credit is just an offset to your corporate taxes payable. So the Ontario apprenticeship tax credit is really great because it'll come back to you regardless of whether you owe the corporate tax or not. And in 2009, they increased it from $5,000 to $10,000 maximum per employee.
Wow.
And so it's an offset, a percentage of the wages that are paid to a registered apprentice.
So that's after the fact when they've been registered that they apply for this credit. So I think going back to setting up the apprentices and the benefits, there's agencies out there that can assist in that process and getting that best fit. So there's no cost attached, where you could do a job trial or a job test and try them out in the role to see if you want to make that commitment to go ahead.
Are there any grants or bursaries that are available
through the government? There is a program that's through Employment Ontario, through Employment Services, that will offset the initial training costs for the first, anywhere from 6. It's not set in stone the length of time. It's on the individual, and preference is given to the trade and the skills involved in the job. Anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks to 16 weeks of an offset of wages as well to introduce the initial training.
So they'll actually get a subsidy of a portion of the wage that they're paying to the apprentice.
And that can be anywhere from 20 to 50% of the hourly wage up to a maximum, and that's reimbursed back to the employer.
And just to go back to clarify, because I think it's important, one of the myths that I've heard spoken of frequently is the complexity and the cost of having an apprentice with you as far as paperwork that needs to be filled out, and then the cost. The wages for an apprentice can range anywhere from minimum wage up to whatever fair market value for someone with that skill set. Yeah,
there's no governed law or set fee in place that somebody has to be paid a certain amount because of the different level of apprenticeship level that they're at. It is up to the employer, up to the pre-knowledge of the individual. If they have some previous training, then obviously the wage would be higher. But it's not governed anywhere that they have to pay them a set amount. They could just introduce the training. I'm willing to give you the training, but this is a set amount of money I'm willing to pay. And if the individual's okay with that, then that's fine. And I think the employers would find that people who want to enter into an apprenticeship would be willing to work to receive the training and get registered and then be able to go on to school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
So back to the business plan, because I think that it can't be overlooked, the importance of a small business planning and budgeting and getting themselves set up. So whether you're a small business and just starting out, or a business that's growing and taking the next step, and you've got a journeyman tradesman on staff, the opportunity to hire an apprentice is really not complicated, and the cost is actually not excessive in any way.
There's no upfront costs at all. The individual pays an initial small registration fee to register with the apprenticeship branch, but there's no outward fee that the employer has to pay, just a wage that they would pay a normal employee.
And I neglected to mention as well, so there's two separate tax credits. The one we spoke about was the provincial tax credit, which is the Ontario credit, and then the other one is the job creation tax credit, which is from the federal government, which is a 10% credit up to a maximum of $2,000 per year per employee. So you actually get both of those. So when you're talking about the subsidies for an employee
on the wages
from a financial side, which is what I spend all of my time with my clients, really, when they're creating budgets, when when they're considering the pros and cons of hiring an apprentice, you've really got a potential of up to $12,000 in reduction to your taxes for your corporation per apprentice per year. In addition to that, you've got a potential of anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks, was it, for the subsidy?
Yes, for the wage subsidy.
Which can be 20 to 50% of their wage. So really, to start up, the time that you don't make your money with a new employee is probably the first 6 months, right? When you're really training them, and after that, they generally will pick up. And
there's also a signing bonus as well. If you were to register your apprentice through an Employment Ontario program, that if you hire them and register them as an apprentice, you can receive a $1,000 signing bonus that's payable to the employer from the Employment Ontario agency office. And then 6 months later, if that individual is still working, an employee of yours, you can send in proof of pay and you would get another $1,000. That's an additional $2,000.
So the financial incentives are definitely there for an apprentice. And they have to go through, in order to get those bonuses, they have to actually hire the apprentice through Employment Ontario. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, they, if they've contacted us to assist in recruiting the individual to for the candidate that they want to hire, but that bonus is also set up that if an employee knows about it, an employer knows about it, they don't have to have the wage subsidy. But if they contact us and register as an employer that wants to have assistance in that transition of this young person going to be a registered apprentice, then yes, that is available to them as well.
Well, that's great. So lots of benefits, and just to speak of a couple personal experiences, I had one where I had a client of mine that had a number of apprentices on staff, and didn't ever know about the apprenticeship tax credits. And when we came in as their new accountant at year end, we noticed that, and we knew that they were a Red Seal trade, and spoke to them about the fact that we didn't see on their last year's tax return the claim. And it was a relatively new business, and the first year that they really became profitable to an extent where they were going to owe some significant corporate taxes, we were able to claim 3 years back for the missed apprenticeship tax credits.
That's amazing.
And it actually canceled out over $40,000 of the corporate taxes. So I've seen it in firsthand. Some real benefit to the small business.
And I've heard it from other employers too, and have gone on to hire another apprentice at a later date just because they've seen the return from their business refunds there.